Matt Rouse and May Heckenham welcome you to the show. The Digital Marketing Masters Podcast. Talk about advertising and SEO in the age of AI with our special guests. The Blues Brother of Pay-Per-Click, the Chicago search man, Sean Sweeney.
Hello everyone, this is Mehek here and we are back. Today, Matt is sitting down with Sean Sweeney, who runs a paid media agency and clearly has a lot of feelings about what Google and Meta are quietly doing to our ad budget. Same here, Sean. Same. This one gets into performance max, GEO, SEO, first-party data, and why the fundamentals of marketing are somehow both old news and the most important thing you can do right now. So let's dive right into it.
Welcome back. Today, my guest is Sean Sweeney. Sean, how you doing?
Hello, Matt.
From beautiful sunny Chicago.
Not today, but yes, it's getting there.
Everybody's always hyped about the AI stuff, right?
Yeah.
But in the background, there's lots of changes happening in the digital ad world. And I think most people are unaware of any of those changes.
Yeah, I mean, there's been some more public changes. Like if you look at some of the buying media, we focus on paid digital media. So when you look at the buying platforms that most brands use, like Google and Meta, they've implemented AI-based buying and algorithmic optimization. So the idea being, hey, just, I think Zuckerberg even said it once, and I kind of railed on it when he said it. He's just like, just give us your credit card and we'll do the rest. And I just like shook my head like, oh my gosh, that's the worst thing you can do as a brand. But the problem is most brands are doing that. Like they're I think the percentage was like 91% are testing it. That goes for Google too with Performance Max, right? So you see it subtly coming out in the buying platforms. I think middle market brands who we focus on working with, they're testing out things on their operational side more than anything to obviously be as efficient as they can on their side. I think it mainly centers around creative and creative testing, that process flow and how much they can save by trying to create these things on their own. What I have not seen yet is a desire from a lot of these brands to have us only use AI optimization for media spend, right? That's the part I'm a little worried about, only because I think that's where things will go wrong. I think ultimately it might get to that point regardless of what I care about and what I want, but I think there will always, humans will always need to have oversight. I mean, with these things like Performance Max and Meta right now, it's like you're making you're making like a deal with the devil in some ways, where it's like, it's a trust for performance thing, where you're basically trusting Google and you're trusting Meta that if I give you my credit card and I tell you what targets I want you to, or I tell you what my outcome is that I want, you'll figure it out and you'll drive it for me, right? So it's like that trust for performance, promise that you're making there. And, from what we've seen in trying those out for clients, they just don't perform well. And so I do think that we're in a big test and learn phase with a lot of this as it relates to digital advertising. I do think creative types are getting hurt more and more right now, because it's becoming easier and easier to create the ads and replicate them quickly, iterate them, do A/B testing. And I think that's what a lot of brands are focused on right now, is how do they become more efficient on the creative side? They'll turn towards media more on the programmatic side and moving forward, I think, shortly. But right now, it seems to be mostly on the creative side. And then just when they use it with Google and Meta, they're testing it out as well.
Just give us your credit card and we'll do the rest. Now that sounds a lot like what Zuckerberg actually meant when he said, we're going to get to a point where if you're a business, you basically come to us and tell us your objective, you connect your bank account, and you don't need any creative, you don't need any targeting demographic, you don't need any measurement except to be able to read the results that we spit out. I think about it more than I should, because the pitch sounds incredibly perfect on the surface, right? You hand over the budget, the algorithm does the work, and you go home. Except what you're actually doing is handing the steering wheel to a system whose entire incentive is to spend your money, not protect it. And you see, Sean's point about Performance Max is exactly this. Like the AI optimizes for it, what it can measure, and what it can measure is almost never the full picture.
But when you're talking about Performance Max ads, which is Google, and then also in the meta ad system, you've got Andromeda and Gem is what they're running right now. They don't label it that in the system,
Yeah.
but that's the AI in the background.
Yeah.
I think that in our experience running ads for our clients, that you can't just run the AI-based ads yet because it doesn't seem to be able to give it the proper mix of like brand awareness versus like the steps to conversion. It
Right.
seems to really miss the brand awareness piece. It's not building enough audience at the top of the funnel, in my opinion.
I've had this conversation a lot lately, a lot actually, and where we've had clients turn off the top of the funnel and they're like, no, we're just going to stick with Google. We think we can do that. I had to tell a client a couple of days ago, listen, in about 2 months after the effects of our CTV campaign or our YouTube video campaign have worn off, now that we've stopped them, my concern is that you're going to have performance dip drastically in the next month and a half, 2 months, because that recall will die and we're not replenishing it. We're just focusing on that lower funnel activity, and it's just going to run out at some point. And so that's starting to happen a lot, where we're not focusing on, the discovery part and brand awareness part, as you say. And I get it, right? I don't blame brands for that, because the attribution thing is still a problem. I mean, I'm sitting here waiting for any AI company to come out and solve the attribution problem, because I will spend all my money on that solution if it works.
Right.
But there's nothing out yet. And that's probably by design.
Yeah.
No one in ad tech wants to fix that, right? Because then nothing is left to chance, and nothing's left to the imagination that like, oh, this could work. But knowing that like CTV, you can't really track it that well in terms of tracking it all the way to, unless you're like a CPG or a QSR and running those QR codes that do decently well, when you're running those on CTV ads. You're not really getting a lot of performance out of that. And same with YouTube. So, but they're brand builders, they're discovery builders. And that's the thing that I think is going away quickly. And that's a concern for me, because I'm a traditional, like, we got to do full funnel marketing.
Yeah. We had over attribution until several years ago. If somebody clicked on anything on the internet and went to your site and bought something, you knew what happened.
Yeah.
That's just not the case anymore, but people still think that's the case.
Well, you can still go to like, GA4 and see what your referring website is. But again, that's, last click attribution that fits perfectly into what Google wants you to do, and how they want you to think, because that helps their search business. So it's hard to break that mold. And sometimes I feel like when I'm talking to clients, I sound very old fashioned when I talk about full funnel marketing. It seems like that's becoming more old fashioned to people, which I don't understand it, because I don't even have a marketing degree, and I understand the value of, you have to constantly get that discovery part right. And especially on the organic side now with the SEO changing, a lot of people are, oh, SEO is dead. It's not dead. It's just changing a little bit. You just got to be on top of it.
If I had $1 for every time I heard that in my life.
Okay, I will personally start funding a trophy for every time someone announces that SEO is dead and is immediately proven wrong. As our experts have already established, it is not dead. It has never been dead. It just keeps changing shape, and people keep mistaking that shape change for a funeral. What is different now, though, is that your content needs to work for humans and for the machines that are increasingly answering questions on humans' behalf. Now, that is a different brief, but it's still an SEO brief.
Oh my gosh, it's such a big thing. I think it's just changing, and you just got to keep up with it. And especially now, lately, Google's changing a lot of things quickly lately. But with these new LLMs and people getting used to it, there's a stat that I just read that like 50% of U.S. consumers are now using the LLMs regularly, which that's a huge jump from last year. I think that was probably less than 12% last year, and now it's 50%. At least try it once a week. Like
I see it. It's obvious to me.
And now it's a new reality for these brands. Like they have to now fix and make sure that their website's ready for this new LLM traffic that's coming. That's part of their organic search process. And in most brands, that's all siloed, right? Like SEO teams over here, paid media teams over here, creative teams over here. Like they now have to work together to really think the same about the way that they think about discovery. And so we're pushing a lot of conversation about discovery because I think that's getting lost in all this AI junk. And believe me, I'm one that I want to find the next great AI product.
Right.
I want to bring it to my clients. I'm looking all the time, like at this stuff and trying to figure out, like, is this real value or is this just bullshit? And I'm not seeing it yet. Like I see stuff for me on the operational side, and we've implemented a lot of these things, but nothing that I can bring to a client that I'm like, this is what you need. And we look for that, and there's nothing yet. I mean, I'm talking for the middle market brands that they don't have a lot of R&D budget. You know what I mean? Like we can't just put them in a position where they have to go fishing. Like we have to test this product a little bit, make sure it's something that's really valuable for them. If I was calling on Target, I'd throw them more ideas that are kind of like, let's go fishing, right? Let's figure out if this could work. But with middle market brands, they don't have the budget for that, and they don't have the time for that or the team for that. So, we try to be thoughtful of if we're going to bring them a new product or a new solution, it's got to work, and it's got to be a value to them to drive their outcomes, because that's the end of the game anyway. It doesn't matter about clicks or any of these other media metrics. It's about their outcomes.
We're working with a brand right now that expanded from Canada and the USA over into the EU. And the EU has essentially no one has ever heard of this product.
Interesting.
Right?
Okay.
And so it's a real reminder of back to basics. How do we educate people on not only what the brand is and what the product is and get them exposure to it? Back to this idea of, is the end user that we're trying to reach, or the end client, customer, whatever you want to call them, the lead that we're trying to reach, are they problem aware? And then are they solution aware? And are they our solution aware?
Yeah.
Right? And now we can get them into a sales funnel where we can say we're going to give them exposure to more ideas and stuff around our product. And then once we do that, what's the kind of order or process of things that they're going to see from an advertising perspective? Or if they go and they Google that brand, or they type it into ChatGPT or whatever, or Gemini or something, right? Claude, what's going to come out about that product or that brand?
Right.
And, these are all questions you don't normally have to answer if you're an existing established company.
Right.
But I think you should go through that process and say, what if somebody's never heard of this product at all? Right? What would you do differently? And I think you'll find a lot of holes in your marketing funnel if you're doing that.
Well, we've definitely focused more lately on the discovery end, to your point about not just for brands that are not known in certain areas, but also just for brands that just are looking for new to file customers, right? People that maybe have an interest in the product or solution, but they just haven't found them yet. If they don't want to talk about it on the paid side through the full funnel marketing, we need to focus on the organic side at least to make sure that end is shored up, to make sure that it gives us an optimal chance on the paid side to capture them. So my point is that their content is updated frequently and it's readable by the machines as well as consumers, right? So that H1s have to be right, those kind of things. So the schema has to be set up right. We're even talking about clients add glossary terms if you're kind of a sophisticated business, add a really robust FAQ page. That's the stuff that'll get you listed and cited in these answers, because people are looking for these answers. And, you know, if we're not going to talk about it as much or focus on it as much on the paid side, we want to at least help the brands on the organic side where they don't have to invest as much money to fix this or to update their site to a point where it will drive more results organically, not only through SEO, but through the AIO stuff too, through their generative content. And I think that's why we're kind of focusing on that a little bit more lately, because it just seems like if we're not going to do it on the paid side, you don't want to invest on the awareness side, you know, through CTV, which I know it's expensive. I mean, when you're talking like if you're trying to run on Hulu, which is a safer, you know, area to run on, it's like $45, $50 CPM sometimes, and it's expensive. But at the end of the day, it does work in terms of like reaching the right people. And so, but if some brands don't have that, it's like, let's focus on your organic and make sure it's really tight and you're maximizing at least that opportunity to get the word out, where you're not paying additional for paid media. And that's been a more receptive conversation lately. I've been to a digital marketing summit in Chicago recently, which was fantastic. And then I just did the Brand Smart event in Chicago with the AMA Chicago, and no one was talking about media. Everybody was talking about how can you make sure my site is being indexed properly? Because I see my competition there, but I don't see us there the way that we see them, and we got to fix that. And so, you know, that's really been the main conversation lately, which is great for us. Like that's exactly what we want to help them with.
I think there's also an education component to the kind of AEO, GEO stuff, which is essentially it's how do you get your brand to show up in a chatbot or an AI system when somebody's asking a question about it, right?
Yeah.
So they might call that, you know, AEO is like artificial intelligence optimization, right? And then your GEO is your generative, which is the same thing. It's just different words. All the EOs, the EI, EIO, I see that a lot, people talking about it. So there's one thing on the education side that I think is super valuable to companies to know, but that they're being sold kind of or missold this bill of goods that there is some sort of tracking system that will definitively tell them what's happening in AI chatbots. And that is absolutely bullshit.
Yeah.
There's nothing about that works.
Yeah.
A recent study that was done with Spark Turo, the important part is they asked for recommendations with thousands of people distributed across different geographies and areas and different demographics. And they asked them for recommendations about the same types of products. And to get the same top 3 results was a 1 in 1,400 chance. So, however, that does not mean that you should not put effort into this.
Yeah.
Because what you want to do is improve the chance that you are one of those 3.
Okay, this is the one. And Matt said it as clearly as it can be said. There is no tool that can definitively track where your brand shows up in the AI chatbot recommendations. And anyone selling you that is overselling it. The 1 in 1,400 stat is like genuinely wild. The outputs are the variable, right? So no, there is no dashboard that definitively tells you what's happening in there, right? And honestly, working with Matt, I've seen this firsthand because clients come in having been sold some version of this tracking promise and it just doesn't hold up. Like, this is one of those things you can only really get when you're in the work every day. And Matt's been saying this long before it became a talking point. So what you can do is put in the work to improve your odds of being included. And that work, good content, PR, strong SEO fundamentals is stuff you should be doing anyway.
Correct. Yeah.
Right. So somebody telling you, yes, we can definitively track this thing is not true.
Yeah.
But the kind of caveat to that is you should work to be included in those results. And that work is about, like you were saying, top of funnel type SEO work. It's content marketing.
Right.
It's PR, right? It's all these things that happen at the top of the funnel that you should be doing anyway that are great for your SEO,
Yeah.
right? And they're
Yeah.
great for discovery and they're great for your ads.
Yeah.
So how do you think, like, and this is another thing, I don't mean to get too sideways on this, but
No.
a lot of people like to use in Google, they like to like put targeting in. They want to say, okay, I want somebody who's in the market for this type of thing.
Mhm.
And if you're not familiar, folks at home, in-market audience means that Google has a decision where they've said, okay, someone is looking for, let's say, patio furniture,
Yeah.
right? So there's an in-market audience for patio furniture that you can advertise to. Well, how do you think Google figures out that somebody's in the market for patio furniture? It's because people are searching for it,
Mhm.
right? And so they're getting that search data and they're saying, okay, we're going to put them in the in-market audience for patio furniture. And now you can run ads to them. So, and when they're searching, the sites that they find are found because of SEO and content marketing.
Yep.
So to be able to advertise to someone who's in market for that thing, you also need to be doing content marketing for that thing.
Yeah, the challenge now that I found is I'm getting mixed signals of things I'm reading about how these AI platforms are ingesting or grading your content. If I've read one POV that says they're looking for long form now because they want more authoritative, thoughtful pieces of content now and human written versus a lot of AI generated slop, which is happening a lot. I mean, and then I've heard the opposite. I just went to an event and people were saying the opposite. No, the AI slop still indexes well with a lot of these LLMs. So I'm getting mixed reviews. So it's hard for me to, tell a client like, yes, you do this or no, don't do that.
Right.
One thing that's been somewhat universal that we have not delved into yet, not only for ourselves, but for our clients is Reddit. I've had a lot of anecdotal conversations with marketers that talk about how Reddit has done very well for them in terms of driving more interest through these AI channels. And
Pinterest.
So I have not explored Pinterest as much, which is interesting because some of our brands, like we have a high-end home remodeler out of Orlando, and they're fantastic. Like their visuals are just stunning. I always compliment them on their creative agency or whoever's taking those videos and photos. It's just beautiful. And we've never even talked about Pinterest, even to run as part of their paid ad campaigns. They just don't seem to have as much interest because there's House, there's that publishing site House,
HAS.
or something like that. Yeah, that's very similar. So I think that they find that that's more their audience. But
well, House, you can find essentially home services contractors.
Yeah,
right. That's what it's designed for.
Yeah, but it doesn't hurt to have a Pinterest. Because there's a lot of looky-loos. Like we say that we think that their sales cycle is about 6 to 8 months at least for people doing looky-loo stuff, and then they finally make the decision to contact them. But Reddit, I've heard a lot. I have not delved into it as much, but I've heard Reddit. It's treacherous. You got to be careful because you don't want to get downgraded or downvoted, and you can't oversell, or you really can't sell at all. We don't handle that for clients, but I've been very interested in hearing these stories about how some brands really have taken advantage of it, and they've navigated that fine line of like not selling, but also being helpful and trying to add to the conversation. I think that's an interesting area that we need to delve into a little bit more.
It depends on the type of client, I think. It's difficult if you're just selling widgets kind of thing.
Yeah.
But if you're a service, then it's a lot easier.
Because you're just being
easy. Yeah, you can just go out. If you're a plumber and you help 100 people answer plumbing questions, you're more likely to get quoted as an expert in plumbing, right?
Right.
Because, and I think this is something that people fail to recognize, is that the AI is not just regurgitating the information it saw on the internet. It will quote stuff for you, but what it's actually doing is it's analyzing the information that it finds, and it's trying to determine expertise, let's call it.
Right.
If it's like a tradesperson or something like that, or it could be a clinician or whatever, right?
Right.
Well, how do you determine if a clinician is better or more versed than another one? Or how can you tell if one electrician is better than another electrician?
More skilled. Yeah.
Well, you got reviews, which everybody knows about because everybody's always trying to get reviews.
Yep.
But then what's the next? You look at their website, you don't really have a whole lot of options, right?
Right.
And so if there's a bunch of information showing that that person is knowledgeable and helpful on the internet, and maybe they're answering stuff on Reddit, maybe they got a video series on YouTube, they got a podcast about being an electrician or whatever, or home uses of electricity or solar, whatever. Now there's reference material to show that that person is an expert, and that makes them more correlated to expertise. And this AI system runs on correlation.
Yeah.
Okay, the electrician example Matt just used is so good. I want to make sure it lands because AI isn't just pulling the most popular answer. It's trying to figure out who actually knows what they're talking about. And it does that the same way a person would, using reviews, website depth, presence on trusted platforms like YouTube, podcasts, Reddit answers. And the more places you show up as genuinely helpful and knowledgeable, the more the system correlates you with that expertise. So that means that your Reddit answers or comments or your YouTube video and your podcast are all quietly feeding the same machine. And that's not a coincidence, it's a strategy.
So I think anytime you can prove expertise, you're going to have a better outcome.
Yeah. And it seems to be working. I mean, I've had several people from different brands tell me the same thing. Like, hey, if you really, it takes, they all agree that it takes a lot of work, a lot of time. Mm-hmm. You got to be on it a lot. So I'm not, for me personally, it's like, I don't have that time for me. And I'm sure there's thousands of agencies on there doing it too.
I mean, there is some stuff you can do. We have a clinician who works in oncology, and we have a video out that essentially is saying that getting a late stage cancer like pancreatic cancer is not necessarily a death sentence, right? There's options. And then it has hundreds of comments. But we can't discuss people's medical information on YouTube.
Right.
So kind of the short version is just, hey, we'd love to discuss your case. Here's the phone number. Here's the website. Contact us. If you want a consultation, we can chat, kind of thing. We could just copy and paste that kind of in many times and take all the people who are saying like, oh, just eat ivermectin and not eat sugar, and delete those comments and ban those people, right? Because there's all kinds of crazy crap on the internet too. So that's the other thing with Reddit is it is a discussion.
You would think the self-policing would kind of weed out the fact-checking needed, but sometimes it just doesn't. Sometimes it feeds itself, which is dangerous. But I think that's why a lot of brands don't step into it, because they're just like, because of that part of it. But it's like, that's on YouTube too. I mean, go to YouTube and that crap everywhere.
But not on your YouTube ads though, right?
Well, they're not supposed to be. Every couple of years, the feds like go to Google and be like, you got child porn on here, like you're putting ads where child porn is, or suggestive stuff like that.
Yeah, there's always that, like, how do you block all the stuff you need to block?
Yeah.
And you can't block it fast enough. So, I mean, you pretty much just gotta draw a line in the sand at some point, right? You gotta be like, we're doing our best to make sure that safety and privacy and whatever, right, are being handled. Yeah. But also we have to be honest about the truth of the internet. There are people who can do things faster than you can remove them, and there is no way to combat that.
That's right. I think if they had honest conversations about that, it would be, people would understand it, because I think most people are reasonable people, right? And if Zuckerberg went up to the Senate and said, yeah, you know what, or the House in those committee meetings, it just said, look, we're doing everything we can, but these guys are faster sometimes than we are. And we're just, every time it pops, it's like a whack-a-mole thing. Every time it pops up, we're going to do our best to get rid of it, because we don't want that crap on our site. Like, I think the other
problem is that it's not in their best interest to do that, which seems like it would be. But the problem is that it costs money to remove stuff. And
Yeah.
if people find things that are not necessarily illegal, but also should not be on there, then more people interact with those and it brings more people to the platform more often.
It's
And
true.
they have a financial stake in that, which is unfortunate, but that's, that's the way the business world works sometimes. So I think kind of to get back on the, honestly promoting, your good business, your solid service or product, right? I think the idea of getting back to kind of fundamentals of marketing is where people should be focusing. And it's not like a backlash against AI or fake kind of thing. It's about how do you go through the steps of how somebody gets trust in your brand or your product or your service and identifies that it's a thing that they need, and then takes the steps, to make their purchase or to convert or whatever that end goal is.
Yeah, it just seems like that, the discovery part is being left behind a little bit in these conversations. That's all, and we kind of identified that early on, and we just decided we got to make this a thing because it's important, and it will decide whether our paid strategies will pay off or not. It'll play a part in understanding if the paid strategies will work, and how much we spend on those paid strategies. And so, you can pay less in paid if you do well in organic, right? And so they feed each other, and we've never kind of focused on it that way, at least since the inception of our company almost 6 years ago. It's only in the last year in understanding the power of these LLMs and tying into that SEO part of the game that we're like, you know what, this really does all go together. I mean, we just have to, we have to look at it that way. And I'm hopeful that, with creative being tested, I love these tools. I love diving into all these AI tools and testing them out. They're not all as intuitive as people would make you think. And I'm not a developer, I'll admit that. I wish I was a developer, because then I would probably be able to use some of these tools like NADN and something and create these agents and, do things a little bit faster, but I'm a little bit slower at it. But I've figured it out. I'm starting to figure it out. Because I want to keep building things that are of value to the client. And that's where we are in our kind of evolution as an agency, is we're trying to figure out what are the things we can build that actually are of value to the client. And, beyond just 24/7 reporting dashboards and, things of that nature, or just optimization, auto optimizations, if they want to turn it on in the platforms, those kind of things, which nobody has, thankfully, to date, knock on wood. Said, turn on the AI optimization. It's like, really? No, you don't want to.
We tested them.
Did you do a run of A/B against human versus AI?
Honestly, we had two separate markets for the same product. And so we were setting up a new one for that product in a different region. But hypothetically, the system is supposed to just remove things like words and percentages and stuff that might be on the photos.
Yeah.
But also it will brighten them, change kind of luminosity and things like that in the images. It's not like taking your product and sticking rainbows and mermaids and shit on it or whatever, right? It's slight modifications. So we tried it, and
our next band name is Rainbows and Unicorns.
That's right, rainbows and unicorns and shit. But yeah, we found it worked reasonably well, right? We had a better conversion rate. We can't 100% attribute it to that fact.
Sure.
But also, and this
marketing, right?
Right. This bears out historically in that if Facebook is constantly asking you to turn on a feature, that they are rewarding you for using that feature. And
themselves.
So there may be some artificial increase in engagement or reach because of using those features. But like I said, we don't have a definitive answer. But also, and this comes up all the time on LinkedIn and stuff, is people say, I can almost repeat it because I've heard it so many times now, and everybody sounds the same. People buy from people. They want real photos of real humans using your product in real life. They don't want AI photos. They don't want AI videos. They want human to human, real emotional connection, right? Which in theory sounds 100% true. However, in our experience, a mix of real and AI together is the thing that seems to sell the most. And I don't know if it's just, our clients don't have the budget to spend $30,000 on a video shoot. And so we're using the AI to make up for that fact. However, we are always putting the real product photos with AI kind of mixed in. Usually we're using the AI to like animate stuff or voiceovers or that kind of thing.
Okay, this people buy from people line is one of those things that sound so true that nobody questions it. And I think Matt is essentially questioning it with actual data. So, real versus AI may not be the right frame. The better question is, does it feel authentic? And does it solve the creative brief? And as a creative lead at Hook Digital Marketing, working with SMBs every day, this is something I've seen play out like so often. Like a well used AI enhancement on a real product can outperform a fully human shoot that cost nearly, what, $30,000? And it's honestly been a game changer for the clients we work with because it kind of also levels the playing field. These businesses can now compete in the market even when they lack the full resources. So I think I agree that a smart mix isn't compromise, it might just be the smarter creative strategy.
It's interesting. I remember the big backlash at Google for the Super Bowl ad where it was all AI, and you can definitely tell it had that like glow in the ad.
Yeah.
And you can just tell it was AI. I didn't have a problem with it. I don't know why people got so crazy about it. It's like, it's Google, people. Like, we're using it every day. We're still going to use it tomorrow. Who gives a crap? They didn't even have to run an ad. Why they ran an ad, I don't even know, because it's not like we're not going to use them. We're going to use them less because of this or more because of this. And we're certainly not going to use them less because they ran an AI ad. I will say, though, I agree with you that I think a good mix, people just want to know that there's authenticity somewhere. And if they see it often enough, I feel like, and I haven't tested this, it's just a thought, it's my thought, but like authenticity will reign supreme still eventually. But I think in the meantime, people are okay with some fun AI stuff that you're doing. The one thing I would say, and I think our governing body of advertising, digital advertising, should, like the IAB here in the United States, should, make this a standard, is like, if it's being used, call it out, right? Like, make us call it out, because I think if people understand that, like, we're using, it's kind of like ad choices, right? For digital, like you have those ad choices thing, which I know kind of suck, because it's like, for creative people, they're like, that thing's annoying because it looks bad, whatever, it messes up the creative. Not really anymore. No one cares. You know what I mean? Right. But as long as you put something up there that lets people know, like, hey, AI might have been used in some of this. TV shows are doing that now. I watch the History Channel a lot because I'm a history dork. And a lot of the recreations of battles and stuff, they say in the beginning, like, some of this is simulated with AI. Great. Right. Love it. And I love the visuals. Like, I think it's fantastic. I think if there's that conversation quickly and that notification quickly, I think people will buy into it and there won't be any backlash. It's as long as there's some authenticity behind the brand. It cannot be an all AI thing where you're communicating just through AI generated content, visuals, videos, etc. Funny story. I've been trying to get a 30-second commercial for my own brand because I had a sponsorship where I could run it. And I didn't get it done because I was starting from, like, same thing. Like, I was starting from scratch, trying to figure out what tool to use.
We'll chat.
Yeah, it's like it's hard to like not use AI, especially if you're a middle market or smaller business. You've got to take advantage of stuff like that because you don't have the capital to do it the other way. And so make it really polished and spend 40.
Yeah. Well, I think one of those, along those lines, one of the things that kind of I identified early because I was writing, will AI take my job, was that we need to kind of shift some of the team members that we have on staff. So we hired a software developer, a couple, 2.5 years ago now. And also our creative director is a trained filmmaker. Right?
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
Which is, I would never have hired a filmmaker before AI. So the people who are like, AI is taking all the film jobs, I'm like, well, in this case,
They're
we created
storytelling.
one,
Yeah,
right?
they're
Yeah,
storytelling.
because I need somebody who understands structure, they understand story, right? And I also need somebody who can, like Scott runs our internal N8N server for our automations. And we have a software developer on staff. We need people who understand servers. We need people who understand GitHub and all this kind of crap, right?
Yeah.
And so these are kind of positions that we have in our company that allow us to take advantage of some of the AI stuff that's out there that's technical and it's difficult to use, honestly, right?
Yeah.
So I think kind of moving forward, though, I think we're definitely at a space now where, and I think you would agree that kind of paid ads, SEO, and the AEO, GEO, space, as well as kind of the content marketing space, are kind of all turning into one job, basically. And that job is, how can I use an old school kind of system of marketing but modernize it with the tools and the things that we have available.
Yeah. It makes it feel like it's old school to me, especially when I talk about it. Some people just roll their eyes and, but again, I'm using all these new tools too. I'm trying them too. It's not like we're stuck in our ways of like, it's got to be a full funnel strategy, but
right.
I've just seen those work. And not only that, like, what people don't talk about anymore as much? First party data. Why?
Right.
Because you have no control over it. If you give your credit card to Google and Meta, you're not getting first party data, right? Or you're not getting, great insight into your audiences because they don't share that in the reporting as much as they should, right? When you turn it over to them in like a performance max situation, for example, they limit what you can pull out of the insights in terms of insights. And so you can't see the data. And so,
do you remember 10 years ago when it was actually called Webmaster Tools and they would tell you everything that someone typed into Google to find your website? Everything.
It was incredible. Yeah. Can you imagine
That's
that?
Great. It'd be amazing. I'd use that all day long.
They wouldn't need us. They wouldn't need us anymore. But I think the other thing, like I do think
I do think
there is a not psychological, but I don't know what the word is I'm trying to think of, but I do feel that Google and Meta are attacking agencies. They're trying to get rid of agencies. And they're just slowly doing it, right? And they're like, look, you don't need them. We can automate all of this. And I do think for smaller businesses, yes, I think these tools are fantastic. I'm talking about businesses who spend maybe $1,000 a month, maybe, on any kind of paid advertising for their business. I think that Meta and the tools that Google and Meta are offering right now are fantastic. Those businesses aren't really focused on first party data. They're just trying to get people in the barbershop chair,
right,
to grab the flowers when it's time, that kind of stuff, right? But I do feel like for these middle market brands and these even larger brands, larger brands can make mistakes and just like write it off, right? These middle market brands don't have that kind of budget. And so you can't, to turn the strategy over, you're really turning two different strategies over to two different platforms wholly, in the trust that they're going to be good stewards of your cash and not overspend and not spend on bots that they're coming in as a click.
Which historically, they have not had a great track record.
Okay, this is the thesis of the whole episode right here, and I don't want it to get buried. SEO, paid ads, GEO, content marketing, they're not four separate lanes anymore. They're one integrated function. And the brands that keep treating them as siloed departments are going to keep being confused about why nothing is working. Because discovery ecosystem is one thing. The sooner your team operates like it is, the better your outcomes are going to be across all of it.
Like, what trust have they built with you over the years?
Yeah. And the other thing is, each of those ad platforms has like 1,000 buttons in it.
Yeah, right.
Are you going to know which button to click or not click? I mean, it's unlikely. It's like me trying to fix my own car. It's not going to fucking happen.
Well,
You know, even with the AI, it's not going to happen. I don't know how to fix that thing.
Well, not only that, you're not going to get support either. Like, good luck trying to get anybody from Google on the phone to help you with something. They'll sell you all day long.
Yeah.
I get 5 emails from 5 different reps saying they're my Google rep, and they're like, "We'll help you." Well, you're only going to help me try to spend. I'm not
right, because they're all commission based.
This isn't working,
right? People don't know that the ad rep who calls you on Facebook or Google is commission based. They don't make more money unless you spend more.
That's right.
Oh, wow. 2 things back to back that I feel every business owner needs to hear. I think Sean's point about Google and Meta slowly making agencies seem unnecessary is something the industry doesn't talk about honestly enough. And I think he's right. For small businesses, it may work fine, but for mid market brands, that's like a dangerous game. And what Matt said about your Google rep being commission based, like their goal is not just to optimize your account, it's to get you to spend more. And I think that's not cynicism, that's just how the incentive structure works. So next time when they call with recommendations, don't forget to run those through your own strategy first.
So their strategy is always to spend more.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing that you want to focus on is, like, there is a lot of behind the scenes technology pieces that businesses, for the most part, have never even heard of that have a massive impact on your advertising. And like a perfect example would be Google Merchant. Almost no one knows what Google Merchant is, or how Google Merchant works, or what Google Merchant connects to, or why you would want to use it. But it's free advertising, just setting it up, right? Yeah. Your products can go out and be shown on the internet, and then you can connect it up to your ads, and you can run ads for products from a feed from your website. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But almost no one knows what it is, right? Unless you're an agency.
Yeah.
Shit, half the agencies I talk to don't even know what it is.
Yeah, it's definitely a herd mentality, right? Like you know, people read that like Facebook or Meta and Google make up 65% of every dollar spent on digital advertising. So everybody's like, "Oh, I should probably spend more money there," you know. And it's just like, okay, you know. And then Amazon comes along, kind of breaks that up a little bit, but still, it's now really those top 3 that a lot of people are spending on. But you know, there's so many, like, that's where I think programmatic stands out. And programmatic has a lot of issues, don't get me wrong. And if you don't have somebody that knows how to navigate and like set it up in a brand safe way where you're limiting the bots and you're not doing mobile apps that are game based necessarily, because sometimes those are just, you know, fake clicks and all that. You know, as long as you have someone minding that store, like programmatic as a channel can be really valuable, because you're hitting people, the same people on the open web, not just on Google and Meta, and they spend, you know, where they're spending other time, and you still can get that message out, and frankly, in a lot less expensive way. And that's why, you know, we talk a lot about programmatic for that reason. It's like, look, Google and Meta are fine, you know, but at the end of the day, if you want a little more independence, you want to build up your first party data, like, let's do this with programmatic, and let's run CTV and run retargeting and that kind of thing. And that's worked almost every time. So we talk a lot about that a lot. But what's interesting now that's happening in the age of AI is we're starting to see clients come to us, like they'll run like our report of our performance through like a Claude or a ChatGPT, and they'll be like, tell us what's wrong with this, or where we're missing the boat and all this stuff. And we had that happen recently with one of our clients. And it really demoralized our team, because we've been doing really well for this client. And it kind of hit us all like off guard. It caught us off guard, because we're like, what's going on? And it's simply the owner is just trying to like operationalize more efficient ways of doing business and to be more profitable, right? Which makes total sense. Like, I think he had them all downloading like Claude, Cowork, I think it's called Cowork, right, on their
right.
On their desktops. And he's actually going out and teaching the employees like how to use this best for their particular area of.
Tell them to hire a IT security company.
You know any in mind? Do you have any in mind?
I do actually. You know what? North Shield IT is a good one.
Is that the guy that does it in Canada and the US that was on one of our groups? Yeah,
Ryan from Systemic Digital runs North Shield IT as well, security company. Man, all the AI like bots and agents. Yeah. Good Lord, it is a security nightmare.
Yeah.
Like, here's the thing. I worked on servers and in IT as well as marketing, but I started in IT in the 90s and I'm not using it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm still using on-demand bots and our internal automation system because I don't trust those things. And I mean, it could just go install a repo for that is full of malware and put it on your machine or into your software and run it. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Like, it's a security nightmare.
What's one? Let me ask you. Like, what's one AI solution or AI based solution that you've implemented for your business that's made a massive difference? And you feel like it's really moved the needle, either production wise or efficiency wise, or what's really like moved the needle for you? We're like, wow, that was a great idea that we did that.
I think probably one of the biggest ones was a program that we use called Higgsfield.
Okay.
And Higgsfield includes all the image generators, editors, and video generators into one application.
Wow.
And so if you generate an image, you can then use that image that you generated. So let me back up a step. We can upload like a product photo, generate an image with that product photo in it, and then use that as the reference for a video generator all in the same app.
Where it'll generate the video from scratch, right?
Yeah.
So I just built
do that. Right.
I just built that agent in Mind Studio. So that was part of my level 1 certification. I built that exact solution. Yeah.
I think one of the interesting things that we found by using apps that have more than one AI in them. So like something that has more than one image generator, more than one, rather than just like we use ChatGPT in this, right? Finding out which models are good at which things is a game changer. And training our staff on that fact and how to kind of use different models for different things and start to figure that out makes us way more efficient and way more capable. We get a much better output in a shorter amount of time.
Interesting.
And that is part 1. What I'm taking away from this conversation is pretty simple. The platforms want you to hand everything over and trust the automation, but the market still requires you to think. Organic and paid feed each other, and discovery is being left behind, and it shouldn't be. And also, knowing which AI tool does which job well is its own skill worth developing. Alright folks, part 2 with Sean and Matt is dropping next week, so make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss it. And if this one got you thinking, share it with someone who needs these insights, and I will see you all in the next one.